Let's go. Welcome back to Two Marks and a Spark. This week we're going to talk about why WWE is so fucking stupid.
You said it, not me.
We're going to get demonetized. I said the F word within 30 seconds. I don't care. Um, oh,
So,
a- and Russ, we also have Money in the Bank this weekend.
yes, we
Nobody,
do. And we
nobody's
have
talking about it. I don't think anybody
we
cares.
also have a new show. We have Worlds Collide, which will be amalgamation of AAA and NXT and WWE talent.
Programming note on Worlds Collide. That show will be on YouTube, not on Peacock.
Correct. Thank you for I had forgot that too. I remember. Yeah, thank you for your reminding me.
Look, I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't have remembered either, except for one of my buddies texted me and said, "Wait, Worlds Collides on YouTube?" And I said, "It is?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I I didn't know.
Well,
Anyway,
you can watch this show on YouTube as well,
just a
among
different
other
channel, but yes.
platforms.
You hear that, Russ? We're going to be on the same website as Worlds Collide. That's
Wow. That's pretty awesome, man.
uh, just a difference in viewers by about a million.
And quite a difference in revenue stream too.
Very different revenue stream. Russ, let's talk about
Pardon
first.
me.
I want to start with the news we got Sunday. It started trickling out Sunday morning that R-Truth had been released.
When you texted that to me, I thought that had to be work,
Uh,
but it
well, I
wasn't.
texted you and then you called me and you said you're working me, right?
Right? Yeah.
I think that's exactly what you said. You're working me, right? And I said, no,
It didn't make any
no.
sense, especially
And
when we just got done seeing him on the 39th edition of the Saturday Night Main Event. Saw him and Little Jimmy go up against John Cena.
yeah, well, let me grab the tweet here really quick. Let me just apparently, I'll just grab it on my phone. It's gonna be quicker. I, so the news came out Sunday, right? As I grab the tweet here, I want to read it because it's actually really well done. Circumstances considered. R-Truth said this on his Twitter at Ron Killings. I'm sorry to inform you all, I just got released from WWE. I want to thank WWE for the ride, but mostly I want to thank each and every one of you who was along for the ride. Thank you for all the love, support, and appreciation you've given me over the years. Thank you. And what ensued after this is a media onslaught.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Things got really chaotic really quickly on Sunday. After this, what proceeded to happen, Pat McAfee took to Twitter and, in no small amount of words, professed his love for Ron Killings. The hashtag We Want Truth was trending during Raw last night, the entire show.
Yeah.
Rhea Ripley showed up to Raw last night in an R-Truth shirt.
Yes. That's right. Don't forget, they both were part of the Judgment Day together.
Um, Hold on, let me grab what Road Dogg said. He said something very I hope he had permission to say this, let me put it that way. And I don't know if he did or not. Oh, I think he took it down. I'll
Oh,
have to tell you.
interesting. He was a little upset, I imagine.
Hold on. Let me find it. Oh, I found it. So Road Dogg in a deleted tweet said this: I am heartbroken. It's the nature of the beast, the part of the business that no one likes but the bean counters. I think that's probably, if he got in trouble for this, this is where he started getting in trouble. I love
Yeah.
Run the Truth Killings, and I don't care who knows it. What a run. Um, you can understand why he might have taken this down, certainly.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Interesting. Also, at some point, Carlito
yes, so I will
let
grab
go.
Carlito's tweet as well because this all happened on Twitter. That's how crazy this was. All of this happened on Twitter.
Anybody else that you know of?
Not that I'm aware of. So Carlito came out Sunday at 4 o'clock Central. So our truth we heard about in the morning. By 4 o'clock Central, we heard this from Carlito, and I quote, my contract is up in 2 weeks. It will not be renewed. On top of that, WWE is demanding that I pay back the money they paid me for apparently, quote, stealing money from the company. I've had my lawyers look into it, and after reviewing my footage on Netflix for the past months, they suggested I pay back the money. All jokes aside, gracias
Oh,
WWE, and especially the WWE Universe. Something in Spanish I'm not going to bother to try and read and end up
in other
butchering.
words, he's they saying basically they were paying me not to wrestle.
And then he
And he's
attaches
still an
another
active
joke.
wrestler. He probably would rather go someplace where he can wrestle
Uh,
or train.
so he wrote, P.S. I'll reappear again in another 13 years. So to
Okay.
say, he was in a joking mood. Um, Karrion Cross was very busy on Sunday on Twitter. Uh, he he
He probably
retweeted.
he probably was very, very shy and reserved and didn't want to speak his mind, knowing him.
Well, I'll tell you exactly what he said if you'd like to know.
Yeah.
So on Sunday, which was June 1st, after both the releases came out, and I presume he either had time to calm down or just rile himself up more, which with Karrion Cross, it really can go either way. He said, quote, hey everybody, I have tons of great stories and memories to share about Carlito and Truth, but I think it's more important to say this. Don't treat them like they're completely gone. If you haven't yet, follow them on all social platforms and keep up with them. And then he has a blurb about how Truth is doing music and Carlito is back in Puerto Rico and he just won their world title down there, which he did.
Oh, there you go.
And then he included the line at the bottom here, and I don't think it got him in trouble, but I think he probably got a sideways glance for this. Continue to support them and stay loud for them. Almost encouraging what we saw last night on Raw.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
which last night on Raw, as we're going to talk about, it wasn't pretty.
Right.
Um, Raw as a show was fine, but the crowd was incredibly hostile.
Yes.
The crowd was about as hostile as they've been recently. So, Russ, let's talk a little bit about Raw. We'll review it in a little more depth here in a second, but I
Tulsa.
want to point out again, in terms of the Triple H era, so, 2022, late 2021, whatever you want to say there, this was the most hostile the crowd has been towards a Triple H show,
Yeah,
in my
in quite
opinion.
some time.
They wanted nothing to do with this show. They were not interested in this show. The crowd was really into the matches, but in terms of the backstage segments and The promos, they
Right.
didn't care. It was a lot of we want truth and bring back truth and what chants were
Right. Bring back truth is the way what I really noticed it. Yeah. Yep.
they were loud and they were not quiet and it was all night and it was really bad during the main event. Um it was especially bad, and we'll talk about this in a second. There was a Lyra Valkyria segment where they were chanting what at her, and when they weren't chanting what, they were chanting bring back truth. That was especially ugly.
Yeah.
Look, I like Lyra a lot. I wish they'd have just shut up and let her talk.
Yes.
I think Lyra's really good,
I do too.
but I get why they're pissed. I mean, I'm pissed too. I'd have probably done the same thing if I was at that show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I I just and everything that we saw Sunday, and I think you would agree with me on that. Everything that happened on Sunday directly correlated to what happened on Monday.
Hmm.
Because the problem that they had was the news about one of the most popular stars they've ever had that never won anything anyway. Just a
Correct.
really popular star that never won anything.
Yes.
The news of him leaving the company comes out 24 hours before your go home show for a pay per view.
Right.
That's bad timing. And I'm not sure they meant for it to come out the day before the go home show for Money in the Bank, but it happened. And I don't imagine SmackDown's going to be much friendlier to them. I don't imagine that Friday crowd is going to be any better to them than tonight was. I I really think we haven't seen the worst of this yet. I'm serious. I think Money in the Bank is going to get hijacked in every
It'll be
way they know
interesting
how.
to see how things play out.
I look, I don't know what happened. I don't know if maybe there was a certain date that had to trigger for them to be able to go public with this, but the fact that Truth went public with this a week before Money in the Bank, they have to be pissed
Oh, yeah.
because they're probably thinking, dude, I'm sure WWE would have preferred this come out after Money in the Bank. That's
Yeah.
my point here. I'm very certain they would have preferred that this wait until after Money in the Bank. And but and they didn't mention it at all on Raw last night, which I thought was weird. They
The the promos, like you said, were off. The crowd was not into them. The only promos that really worked were Rusev, and that was pre-taped, and then Penta, and that was in Spanish. Which he cut an excellent promo in Spanish, and the crowd couldn't touch him. Uh, Other than that, the interaction between the crowd and the whoever had the mic was kind of off.
it was hostile. It was all hostile. Now, what's funny about this is they do this really good show last week that we're not going to talk about too much because we do have a lot to get to, and we've spent a lot of time talking about our truth. The interesting thing to me is everybody is pissed about this. Morale is down. The mood at last night's Raw couldn't have been any lower. Like, it was just one person told me it was like going to a funeral last night. It was bad.
Yeah,
Um, Everybody was upset. Nobody was happy. Nobody really wanted to. Everybody was just kind of like, well, we're here,
right.
I guess. We got a job to do. Russ, let's talk a little bit about Dynamite last week. I don't want to go into too much detail on it because I do have a lot to say about Raw last night. But Russ, I thought last week's Dynamite was a step in the right direction, and I've said that before. AEW has been doing really well lately with their week to week television, which is a complete reverse of the normal. Usually they do good on pay per view and then their week to week struggles. Lately, I felt like their week to week television has actually been pretty solid. Now, we'll see how it goes this week because they do have a 4 hour show tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
God help us all.
The way it's being built, it's all live, I'm assuming, but the way it's formatted on the grid is 2 hours of Collision and then 2 hours of excuse me, Dynamite and then Collision. Of course, for some reason they didn't want to run Collision Saturday night. I can't
I
imagine why.
wonder why.
Yeah, because I'm afraid if they deliberately counter programmed to WWE, the numbers aren't going to go quite their way.
I've done it before. Now, the interesting thing, speaking of counter programming, Russ, WWE announced WWE Evolution as well as Saturday night's main event running the same weekend as All In.
Yes,
The rumor, by the way, is that Saturday night's main event show that is in Atlanta will have Goldberg's retirement match on it.
I have heard that rumor also.
I don't think
They're
that's a rumor. I think that's happening.
and they're talking about that going to be Gunther.
I would
Rumor.
assume.
Yeah. Uh. So yeah, and that is going to be coming. Is that July?
Yep.
That's going to be
So,
the 40th edition, as they call it.
yep.
Saturday night main event XXXX, the old Roman numeral uh, format, if you will.
So we also have the Evolution pay per view, which is their all women's pay per view. Um, I believe.
It's going to be a busy summer for the wrestling.
Hold on, I'm getting the dates. I'm making sure I get these dates right. So All In is on the 12th of July, and that is direct counter program to Saturday night. Well, Saturday night's main event will air at the same time as All In. And then Evolution is the next night. And both of those shows, both Evolution and All In, not All In, Evolution and Saturday night's main event, excuse me, will both be in Atlanta.
Right.
All In will be in Arlington. That'll be a stadium show for AEW, so we'll see how that does. Um,
Arlington, Texas, huh? All
but
right.
Russ, let's talk about Raw last night, shall we?
Sure.
Because I didn't think SmackDown was really anything to talk about. Because it never is. By the way, did you hear that SmackDown could be staying 3 hours until September?
Yes, I did. Apparently, the USA Network is pleased with the numbers. So, initially that was going to stop in June, but they're going to keep it going. Last night, Raw with the commercials edited out because I watch it after. It was about 2.25 hours.
Yep.
So that's about right, actually. You know, a
So
little bit
this show, this Raw show, I didn't think it was a bad episode of Raw at all, by the way. I just thought the crowd was incredibly against its existence. Um, this
We
show
had some decent
starts
matches though.
with a Seth Rollins video package, and then we get a hard cam shot of Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, and Michael Cole has to take his suit coat off because he lost the bet. He ends up wearing a Pacers jersey all night. Looks like a total dweeb.
Yes, he did.
Anyway, out comes CM Punk. And Punk comes out talking about how he needs a title around his waist. And he called it the Summer of Punk. This would age poorly. We'll get to that in a minute.
Right.
Um, I want to point out that this show happens to have had the ugliest, and I do mean ugliest, crowd imaginable. Remember that as we're talking about these matches. This crowd was ugly. Um, it was rough. That's all I'm gonna say. Where did my notes go? They just disappeared. Hang on. Oh, there they are. Okay. So CM Punk cuts this promo. Sami Zayn comes out and he says basically, I'm gonna stop Seth Rollins and everybody else from screwing you tonight. Da 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 da.
Yep.
We got a Stephanie Vaquera promo. This was a pre-tape. And thank goodness for her sake that was the case. And then we had the first match of the night finally. It was Stephanie Vaquera, Liv Morgan, and Ivy Nile. Ivy Nile was the star of this match.
Yeah. But she's
Far and
not
away.
being used properly. I tell you, pardon, excuse me. I get frustrated with the way they booked her, as have
Well,
you.
well, Liv Morgan also did very well in this match. Stephanie Vaquera looked great. This was a really good match.
Yes.
Vaquera gets a win with an SVB, and she qualifies for Money in the Bank. So, I had thought Liv Morgan was probably a lock to win this.
Yes.
Um, but you knew no matter who was winning this, Ivy Nile would be the one getting pinned.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
And that is exactly what happened. We then get a backstage segment with Paul Heyman and AJ Styles. Heyman tells Styles he should focus on the Intercontinental title. And
That's right. Yep. He was
Styles
just
told him to go
offered
fuck
some
himself.
he was offered some sage advice out of the goodness of his heart because he's a pure altruist, you know. He just wanted to help AJ out, right?
Are you working me right now?
Yeah, sure. Exactly.
If there was ever any doubt that Uncle Russ was the heel, Uncle Russ is the heel.
No, that's you, right? Oh.
I I mean, anyway, so Styles tells Paul to go fuck himself, and that was that. Sheamus then, you know, talks to the Alpha Academy and tells them good job for standing up to Rusev. Then we get a Rusev promo. This was fucking awesome.
It was
And it was a
great.
pre-tape, and it was so fucking good.
It was very good. You know, like I said, it's just amplifying the type of promo he was doing that he tried to do in AEW, and they just taken it and just developed it further, and they've added the production values of the WWE to make it really very, very well done promo.
We then get the Judgment Day versus the War Raiders with the New Day at ringside. They would end up getting ejected. This match is really not much to talk about other than at the end here, Roxanne Perez interferes
Mm-hmm.
very directly, might I add,
That's right. Very much so. That's
and
right.
costs the War Raiders the match. The Judgment Day get the win. Finn Balor and JD McDonough get the win. I want to point out as well, Finn Balor, I saw today, has only won 3 singles matches in the last 2 years, and it has been a year since he won a singles match.
Wow. I had no idea that it had been that long.
Yikes.
Well, He hasn't lost as many as The Miz, but he's getting close.
And then we get a Becky Lynch pre-tape. This
Yes.
was, as pre-tapes go, fine. Nothing special here. We then get a very awkward backstage segment with Stephanie McCurr and Rhea Ripley. This was weird for so many reasons. And then we get the Lyra Valkyria Becky Lynch promo.
Yes.
Holy shit, this sucked.
Yeah.
The
We
crowd,
hit the fast forward.
the crowd hated this. I liked what I could hear of it, but they were either chanting what or we want truth the whole
Right.
time.
Yep. They completely sabotaged everything those women tried to do. They
And
didn't
they end
stand a
up.
chance.
So, anyway, they're going to fight on Saturday, and that's about all you need to know. And they brawled, and that was that. We got that Penta promo you were talking about, the pre tape where he spoke Spanish.
Yes.
We then got Jey Uso and Sami Zayn against Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed with Paul Heyman at ringside.
Right.
This match was the biggest fucking nothing burger of all time.
Yep. With a very inconsequential screw job ending,
Go
which
figure.
just to prove that it meant absolutely nothing. It was just a time filler. It's like we got a big match coming up this weekend, so we got to keep these guys on TV doing something. So let's do this schmaz that we've done a million times before.
And we'll do a million more. We then. So, this schmaz that Russ is referring to, Uso, Zayn, Bronson, and Braun are all brawling on the outside, and Jey Uso's trying to start to get up toward the entrance ramp area. Seth Rollins comes out of frickin' nowhere and like a bat out of hell curb stomps Jey into the ground. The bell rings. Jey and Sammy win by disqualification, and they get the hell beaten out of them, and we move on. We then
Yep.
get Kairi Sane versus Raquel Rodriguez after a very odd backstage segment. Russ, I want to talk about this backstage segment. I kind of grazed over, but I want to talk about it.
Right.
Liv Morgan and Finn Balor have the most awkward on-screen relationship of all time.
Yeah. It's this isn't the most interesting soap opera I've ever watched.
That implies you watched a lot of them.
Well, I've watched enough to know that this one isn't particularly well done.
Well, anyway, Liv is jealous of Roxanne because Liv was gone for 3 weeks shooting a movie, and
That's right.
Roxanne just appeared while she was gone.
With a platter of nuggets, nonetheless, looking rather, well, shall we say, rather fetching, with a platter of nuggets, I mean, if a woman shows, your woman's out of town, a woman shows up at your door, Ben, and she's not only good looking, but she's got food. What are you going to do?
Uh,
You're going to be like, come on in.
I don't want to answer that
Yeah.
for fear of self-incrimination.
Dominic, you must really have game, I'll tell you.
Brothers on an listen. If he goes from Rhea Ripley to Liv Morgan to Roxanne Perez, all-time run,
There you go.
all-time run, it's over. All-timer, Hall of Fame, done.
Well, there you go, man. He got more hoes than the Godfather.
Put him in the freaking Hall of Fame for that alone. Now they'll probably put him in the Hall of Fame because his last name's Mysterio. Anyway, uh, Raquel ends up losing
Right.
her match, and that was that.
But it
Kairi
wasn't a
Sane gets
bad
the
match.
no, it was fine. Kyrie gets the win.
Right. And it was good to get a little bit of then they celebrate after with the Io Sky. They're still calling themselves Damage Control, although they're down to two people now, aren't they?
Well, let's see.
Just the
Oscar,
two.
Kyrie,
Yeah.
Io.
Yeah.
Three.
Right. Any word on when Oscar may return? Any news that you are aware of? I have heard nothing. Other than that, it's
Soon.
sure like she had some unfortunately she had some I don't know the details, but she had some unfortunate experience with a fan that was getting a little obsessive and out of line.
I'd heard a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really unfortunate because some people they think that they're in love with their favorite wrestler.
That is very odd to me.
Yeah.
That whole dynamic.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would work.
Exactly.
Maybe I'm too normal. I don't know. Anyway, we had we had after that Karen Cross go up to Sami Zayn and basically tell him, "You're a bad guy, Sammy." Sami Zayn told him to shove it. We then had Michael Cole and Pat go over the cards for both pay-per-views this weekend. Because let's not forget, folks, WWE has two pay-per-views on Saturday.
Correct. Exactly. One on the the one on YouTube is not a pay-per-view, is it?
No,
Isn't it a free show?
I would think so. I mean, unless they're going to charge people to watch the show.
Yep. I don't
Anyway,
pay for nothing on YouTube.
we got Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank this weekend. Me and Russ will probably review both of those shows. I don't know why we wouldn't.
Yeah.
Um,
It's gonna be a marathon, but we will record that evening.
if either one of us are alive
Yeah.
or sober. Well, I guess we don't have to be sober to record that, do we?
No, it's not absolutely essential.
It might be discouraged even.
Well, let's just wait and see how the show goes. You never know.
Well, we're about to run down the cards, so just wait. Um, we get a video package previewing the main event for next Monday's Raw that has been announced. Now it's Jey Uso versus Gunther. They're doing a WrestleMania rematch on Raw less than 3 months after WrestleMania. Now, normally I would call this incredibly stupid, but Raw is on Netflix. Raw is not on cable. They can do these pay-per-view rematches on Raw a lot more intelligently than they used to be able to. Because for most of the world, do you know what else is on Netflix besides Raw? The pay-per-view.
Right.
So it's on the
Yes,
same service as WrestleMania was. So they're really
yes it
not.
is.
This isn't like they're doing John Cena versus Cody Rhodes on SmackDown, which would be
That's right. A little over 6 months from now, a lot of wrestling fans are going to start asking themselves, why the hell am I still subscribed to Peacock?
I think some wrestling fans already do that.
Right.
Anyway, we then had the main event. A very good main event, might I add,
Correct.
until the very end, of course.
They had to get everybody and their mother in on the last couple of minutes, just make it a free for all, trying to get all the characters on stage. Mass confusion.
AJ Styles, CM Punk, and El Grande Americano in the final Money in the Bank qualifier.
I didn't see this one coming.
I have so much to say here. So, first of all, when they just let these three guys wrestle and didn't have a schmoz, other than the crowd turning on this match at about the 5 minute mark
Yeah,
by chanting, "We want truth," this was very good. Then again, look at the three guys in this match. I could have told you it was going to be pretty good.
yeah,
It was Chad Gable, CM Punk, and AJ Styles. Yeah, that's going to be pretty good.
yep. I've never seen CM Punk try so hard to get to be a baby face in a really, really long time. I mean, he was just like he was really uh almost, I don't want to say hamming it up, but almost kind of hamming it up as far as what a baby face he was trying to be, you know?
Well, El Grande Americano, Chad Gable, who is already booked for the main event of Worlds Collide, fighting Vikingo for the AAA Mega title,
Correct.
is now going to fight Vikingo for another promotions title on Saturday,
Correct.
and then is going to turn around and in a mask compete in Money in the Bank.
Yes. That's quite an amazing feat.
Look, I don't know this for sure, but if I had to guess, knowing what I know about how this show's being booked, specifically the matches involving AAA's titles, that Vikingo Gable match is not going to be a short match. That is not going to be a 5 minute match.
No, it'll probably be one of the main matches on the card, you know,
It is the main event.
because the only volcano matches I've seen are the ones that he did in Trip or in AEW, and those were there were not very many, just a handful, but they were
They were
very
all very good.
very impressive.
Now, look, I don't know this for sure, but if I had to make a bet, I would say that Gable Vikingo match is going to go at least 20 minutes. At le- and that might be cutting it short. 20 minutes.
Well, that's the one I'm looking forward to seeing the most. Some of the other matches, there's a lot of wrestlers some of the luchadors I'm completely unfamiliar with.
Now, they could impress you.
Yes.
You just don't know who they are
Well,
yet.
you know, I remember when they started bringing them into WCW back in the day. And then, American fans got to know some of these guys like uh, Psychosis, Juventud Guerrera.
So, Russ, let's talk a little bit about Money in the Bank. This show right now only has 4 matches on it.
Right?
4.
Yeah.
I presume we're going to get another match somewhere.
At least one more.
You would hope.
Yeah.
Now, it is possible they will do something on Worlds Collide to set up a match for Money in the Bank. That is
You
kind of
know,
what I think is going to happen, honestly. But
it's not
as
like
it
AEW where you get 14 matches in 5 hours, you know.
no, as it stands, here is the match card for Money in the Bank as of Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, Penta, Seth Rollins, Andrade, and El Grande Americano in the men's match. I think Seth Rollins is winning that, and I really don't see anybody else winning that.
I would agree. That's how I would definitely pick it.
It's either going to be Seth Rollins or LA Knight, right? I mean, those are the options. that they've given themselves. And then in the women's match, I think this is a little more wide open. Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, Julia, Naomi, and Stephanie McCur. I You could tell me Roxanne Perez is winning this match, and I'd probably believe you. You could tell me Rhea Ripley is winning this match, and I'd probably believe you.
Yeah.
You could tell me Alexa Bliss is winning this match, and you know what? I might just damn well believe you. I have no clue. Russ, who do you have winning the women's Money in the Bank ladder match?
I'm more certain about who it will not be.
And that
It
is,
will not be Naomi.
I wish it would be.
Yeah. She's actually quite good. Well, it probably will not be Bianca. I'm going to predict Rhea, but yeah, Rhea Ripley.
I'm going to go with Roxanne Perez, but it's like a very timid Roxanne Perez.
Yeah.
We also have Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria. And what is now being called, I missed this, a last chance match. If Lynch loses, she can no longer challenge for the belt as long as Lyra is champion. That makes sense. They've had like 15 matches.
Sure.
And if Lyra
What's one more
loses,
going to
she'll be
hurt?
forced to raise Lynch's hand in victory and acknowledge Lynch as the better woman.
Right.
If Lyra wins this, or sorry, if Becky wins this, they're going to make Lyra look like a total geek.
Yeah. We'll see how they. No,
And then what
I think Lyra has to win this.
has to. Then what I
Oh,
presume
I
will be
think
the
he
main
has
event.
to.
What I presume will be the main event, as mad as it makes me that this is the main event, probably.
The tag team.
John Cena and Logan Paul against Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes.
Right. And I predict that this will not have a clean finish. It's going to be some kind of a big cluster schmoz. That's going to be like to be continued on Monday Night Raw.
No fucking kidding.
Yep.
Who do you have winning? I think Cena and Paul, if there's a clean finish, Cena and Paul win.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. They'll get a clean finish right in the middle of the ring by cheating.
Now, could Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes win this match? Yes.
Remember, though, Logan Paul has basically said that he'll go along with John Cena's mission to ruin wrestling for everybody.
Also, remember, Logan Paul is a liar.
Yeah.
I really do think that this whole thing is a setup for Logan Paul versus John Cena.
That could be a good match.
John Cena hasn't had a good match since Elimination Chamber.
Right.
I want to point. Okay, that's not true. Randy Orton had a good match at Backlash. John Cena had nothing to do with that shit.
Good point there. Yeah. Yeah.
Notice how I say Randy Orton did extremely well and was great at Backlash. John Cena stunk the place out. Yes, they were in the same match.
Well, he was phoning it in. He didn't have to work hard for his money anymore.
Well, anyway, I think probably some sort of DQ, and that will result in, or Logan Paul will turn on John Cena, or vice versa, or something stupid. Somehow Cody and Jay are probably going to win this, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I don't see how they could ever credibly turn Logan Paul babyface officially because he's got so much real life heat based upon his own personal business. He's got people hate him, and that's got nothing to do with wrestling.
Heat with the fucking FBI. He's under investigation by the SEC.
Yeah. Yeah. He may have possibly broken a law or two here and there also. Plus all this edgelord horse shit,
That too. That doesn't help. But
But anyway,
Russ,
he is a good wrestler. I haven't seen a celebrity uh athlete take to pro wrestling as quickly in quite some time.
I would argue Bad Bunny.
Oh yeah, but he's only had one match so far. Two. Oh, I'd forgotten about the second one.
The one everybody remembers is Damian Priest because that match was really good, but he did have a tag match the year before at WrestleMania where he actually teamed with Priest
I
against, I
remember
think
that now. Yeah,
it was Miz and Morrison. It was Priest and Bad Bunny against Miz and Morrison at WrestleMania 37.
you got a good memory for those details.
Um, it's stupid. I wish I didn't have this memory because ah yeah. Anyway, it was a good match. He's had two really good matches. I hope they have him back at some point. I wish they'd fire Logan Paul. Anyway, Russ, we're running out of time here, brother. But before we
Right?
do you think Money in the Bank will be a good show? Because I think it could be.
Yeah, I do. I'm optimistic.
I think it'll be too long.
Well, with only four matches though, we'll see. Got to remember it's WWE. Got to allow about half of that time for ring entrances and
Well,
crowd
also
chants.
worth noting, this may in fact be the second to last Money in the Bank pay per view, period. Because they moved Money in the Bank to the late August time next year, and Triple H apparently wants to get rid of it entirely. So
All
we
right.
may not have another Money in the Bank again past next year because, I mean, generally speaking, when reports start coming out that the head booker doesn't like a concept of a show,
Yeah.
the only reason I think they're doing Money in the Bank next year is because they ripped New Orleans off and took WrestleMania out of there, and that they're moving Money in the Bank to New Orleans.
Well, that could end up being a disaster too.
That could end up being a disaster. It's all a disaster. Anyway, Russ, we're gonna get out of here. But thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. We'll see you back here Saturday night for what I'm sure will be a very long post show. Damon, play our fucking music.